Rezoning Brookhaven case number LP2014-02-26. Can we get the staff report from the Planning Commission?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. For the record, my name is Todd Miller. I'm with the Southern Georgia Regional Commission. We prepared the staff report, and I just wanted to give you a brief synopsis of that. The application before you tonight is a rezoning from Brookhaven 3 Lakeport Limited Partnership. They're asking to rezone 5.67 acres at the northeast corner of Lakes Boulevard and Country Lane. They're asking to rezone this property from community commercial to R6 multifamily and down zone to the less intense use. This would permit the development of 64 age-restricted apartments, 55 and older specifically, in 3 multifamily buildings. The surrounding zoning is a mix of residential, professional, R10, and community commercial properties, and the surrounding uses are a mix of office uses, institutional uses, and residential uses. We have reviewed this against the standards for exercise of zoning powers, 12-2.7C of your zoning ordinance, and find that it meets those standards. We have also looked at this specifically in terms of how it is whether it's an appropriate land use in this area, which we find it is, given the transitional nature of this area from a more commercial area along Lakes Boulevard to a more residential nature in the more northern portions behind, to the north of this property. Therefore, based on that review, we are recommending approval at the staff level. Recently, as recent as last week, we did have some concerns brought to our attention regarding drainage and other site plan issues. If the project was approved, those would be addressed through the permitting process. I also wanted to mention that last night at the Greater Lowndes Planning Commission, we unanimously recommended denial of this project. Several petitions in opposition to this project were submitted at the Lowndes Planning Commission. We made copies of those and I provided the clerk for your review. And with that, I will conclude my presentation.
One question. So the staff approved and the Planning Commission disapproved?
Recommended no, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We're just going to review the nature of the request.
Nature of the request. The applicant is requesting a rezoning of 5.67 acre parcel of property from the community commercial CC zoning district to the multifamily residential R6 zoning district for parcel 0198-192. The subject property is located at the corner of Lakes Boulevard and Country Lane in the city limits of Lake Park, Georgia.
All right. Again, those who are opposed, I'm going to give 10 minutes to the issue. State your name, your address, and your opposition. If you have anything to say, please come forward.
My name is Danny Gaines. I live at 5302 Golf Drive. I also have property on Hamlet Lake. And I've been with the post office. I was post back here from 1984 until I retired. I watched the home in South Mountain County grow from then until now. And we got some apartment complexes in our area, and they're great. They're an asset to our community. Although, however, we got 3 beautiful lakes: Francis Lake, there are 2 Hamlet Lakes, and Horsefly Lake. There's there's no apartment complexes in our area. And I would just like for each of you to consider this yourself. I mean, just like we have, we've invested everything that we've worked for our whole life into a nice subdivision that's residential only. And to put some two-story apartment complexes right in the middle of 3 subdivisions, the Hamilton Lake subdivision, the Hamilton Heights, the Francis Lake, and also the horse lots. It would be very unsightly to the eye. The traffic would increase drastically. And I know that it's proposed to be a 55 and over, but I've been told that as long as one person resides in that apartment that's 65 years old, it doesn't matter how many children and grandchildren, etc., that stays there with them. And when you got that many people ingested into a small area like 5 acres there, 64 families, you're going to have feuds, you're going to have arguments, you're going to have a lot of traffic in the area, both in cars and in walkers. It's going to increase vandalism in our neighborhoods. I just urge you all to consider that if you live where you live, what would you feel if, somebody would come in there and want to put 64 apartments right next to you? It would devalue your property drastically. You would not be near it becoming to anyone who would like to come in and live in that community. And I just urge each and every one of y'all just to use the golden rule. Just do unto others, which is us, as you would have us do unto you.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Please state your name and your address, please.
I'm Eldridge Lyons, 111 Springwater Drive, Lake Corinth, pastor of the Francis Lake Baptist Church, and I've been part of this community for 43 years, 7 years within the school, the other 36 years as next door neighbor. And I'm here to encourage you to do as the Planning Commission did last night, to deny the request to rezone this property and to build those apartments. It's my understanding that the zoning is to protect existing neighborhoods. And these neighborhoods are established. We have a wonderful community, wonderful neighborhood made up of all these beautiful lakes, and it's a residential area. We understand the commercial area out front, and that's fine. But we ask you to follow the lead of the Planning Commission in denying this. Now, this development will cause serious environmental problems, runoff into Hamlet or Horse Lock Lake. Even if a lot of work is done on that retention pond, that water's got to go someplace. And of course, it's again, as it said, there's traffic. There's streets not prepared or built to handle all the traffic that's going to go in. Our church is concerned about the walk traffic through our property, where the children are playing with children's activities. And our trustees have already decided, if it is approved, that we will fence 2 sides of our property to try to keep people on the streets. There are plenty of apartments in the area. I understand that the developers already have apartment developments in our area. And so there's not really a need, but we would encourage these folks to do as they did in Hayhire, move out of the residential area, move out where there's more land to be available, and not stick it right into the middle of a family dwelling area there. And of course, when it gets down to it, who is this going to benefit? Is it going to benefit the residents of that area? Is it going to benefit Lake Park? How much tax revenue is this going to bring in? Maybe a little SPLOST money, but then when you police protection, the fire protection, and all the things going to go into it, I don't think you're going to benefit a whole lot. And so we encourage you to just be good neighbors. We'd be a lot better off to work together than to not work together. And so I'm going to ask you tonight to consider your neighbors. And of course, a lot of these folks that are here are also from the Lake Park, from the city of Lake Park. And so I'm going to go ahead and move aside. But anyway, I have a petition here for 95 people to sign. Can I hand that to you?
Thank you, Ms. Long.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Glenn Tucker, and I am moved here in Lake Park in 1973. I bought a house and lot on Hammock Lake in the early 80s. At the time, in 1970, they built when they originated Hammock Lake. The road out in front, Hammock Trail, was a private road for a gated community. The association deeded that to the county, and as a result, all the single-family homes moved in there. They built more streets, and this are all beautiful family homes. One family, one home, and the landscapes are beautifully, and I object to any two-story building in the front of our beautiful association. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Address, please.
Good evening. My name's Glenn Cater. I'm a resident of Horse Lodge Lake. I have lived there since 1975 and have watched Lake Park grow. Matter of fact, our David Drive, excuse me, David Drive where we live was a dirt road at the time that we first moved in here. All the property owners on both sides had to ante up to get the road paved. So, and like I say, Lake Park has continued to grow. The main concern that I have, and I share this concern with others that have spoken before me, and other residents of the lake, is that Horse Lodge Lake does not have any runoff. It's like a bowl. Any water coming down to us is just going to fill the pond up. Like I say, I have lived here since 1975, and I think on 2 occasions the lake has rose up and flooded on our property. And that's before a lot of this development even came about around the area. It's due to Mother Nature. When we would have, heavy rains, if the lake was at its normal level, then it had no choice but to rise up because there's no runoff. And I had spoken with Lowndes County Engineering Department, and they've come out and told us that there's nowhere to put a runoff from the lake because of the geographic, I guess, of the geographics of the area. So my concern is with the development, all the runoff of water that may come into the area that would continue, that may cause problems for us on the lake. And also, I support the concerns about increased traffic in the area. And I'll just leave it at that. But like I say, I'm a landowner and property owner on the lake, and I'm just pleased to be behind it. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else would like to come up and say something real quick? This will probably be the last.
And all I've got is just a minute, Mayor, Council.
Just name and address.
Dwayne Carson, 5015 Cypress Lake Drive, and I've heard somebody ask, well, you don't live in Lake Park, then I don't see where your concern is. And I'd just like to read a quick statement. And it's from a poem that was about the cowardice of the German intellectuals following Nazis' rise to power and subsequent purging of their chosen targets, group after group. First they came for the socialist, and I did not speak because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Councilman and Mayor, speak for us tonight, vote tonight.
Amen.
Anybody who's opposed to the development, and now I'm going to open it up for 10 minutes for anybody in favor. Please come forward, state your name for us.
Thank you. My name is Bill Holland. I'm an attorney with Coleman Tower Law Firm in Valdosta, 910 North Patterson Street. I represent the applicant.
I handed you guys a copy of the letter today, which I've written. I want to make a part of the record, if I can hand it to the clerk as well. I don't propose that I'm going to convince this room full of people that this project is something that's good for your community. I'm standing here tonight because I believe that it is, and I stand behind my client who has several years of experience in developing these type of projects. I have asked you in the letter that I've given you tonight for some consideration of time, in that it was only about 72 hours ago that we started receiving objections to this project. Now, I'm not standing here tonight telling these people that I'm going to convince them that this is a good project. But there's always a middle ground, and if we don't get to look for it, if we don't have a chance to look for it, then we'll never know. So, having said that, I do want to encourage this commission to give me some time to table this for 30 days and to let us come back. Now, I have no idea, standing here tonight, whether you're going to table this. So I do want to say a couple other things to you about Investors Management and this project. Investors Management is a locally owned company, and they have done several of these projects. And the project in Hayhire is the most recent. It is right next to a residential. I'm not saying it's highly residential as this one, but it is next to a residential, and you should go take a look at it. This is an $8.5 million project coming here. The residents of this project are primarily 60, the average age is 60, range from 55 is the lowest to however long you can live, I guess, after that. These type of people, there are restrictions on who can live with them. There are restrictions and maintenance requirements about the property going forward. They do background checks for people who live there. Make sure if you have a criminal record, if you have a felony record, you don't move into this place. And these are not low-income people. These are elderly people. Yeah, they may have lower income than some of us. But this is a very nicely managed facility and very nice looking facility. And I think if we give it an opportunity, we can work out some design within this site where it'll be out of sight, out of mind, and will be no problem to this community. But that's up for you to decide. The water runoff issues, I think we can address all of those at given time. I've heard traffic issues. Last night I heard some other issues outside of what we've heard here today. But given the opportunity, I think that we could at least try to see if this is something that would fit for Lake Park. I can assure you that my client's will is not a deal will. It's simply to bring this project to Lake Park like they have several other communities in Lowndes County and all over the state of Georgia. With that, we would submit the project to you. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
I see here, first of all, I'm here on council, I see here where it says that this, if we fail to deny the request, that we are in violation of the Fair Housing Act. Is that correct, sir? Mr. Plum, can you answer that?
I got this letter 5 minutes before the meeting started. I've not analyzed it, and I can't really give you an opinion as to whether there's any violation of the law or not. I do know that this letter it's a notice that property owners are required to give a notice in matters such as this to put the council on notice of possible constitutional and other claims. I think that's the purpose of this letter.
Can I ask a question, sir?
And you are asking for a 30-day table of this matter. Would you like a separate public hearing on this fact?
What I would suggest, if you were willing to entertain that, is I would set a date and a place. And I would do that tonight in front of all of you and invite anyone who wants to attend to come attend. We would have our architects and our builders there to try and answer questions and try and pacify concerns. I don't know if it'll work. If it doesn't work, we'll be back here next month and you can make your decision.
Are you also familiar that there is another person vying for the same grant in this area?
I am, yes.
Would you permit her to present her, as part of this public hearing, her views on what she has to offer to you? Or would you want it just separate from yours? Separate from yours?
I'm not sure I understand.
There is another firm that's put in to vie for the same grant that you're going to try to get from the federal government.
Yes.
For 55 plus people here in the city of Lake Park, and it won't be one grant. She is very close to where your proposed site is.
I'm familiar with her property, yes.
Okay. Not many people here know that she has that area zoned R6 and is continuing on and waiting on a grant. That same grant that your people are trying to get.
Yes.
If we have a public hearing on your project, would you want your public hearing separate from, if we offer her one too, to give the people here a chance to see what they have there? But the city has no say-so with who gets the grant. One of y'all will get that grant.
I agree. There will only be one of these projects built, and we don't, as we stand here tonight, we can't tell you which one that would be.
That's right.
And my issue is trying to get this property rezoned with something that these people could live with. So I would suggest we have my own hearing where we look at my design standards, and she can have hers if she wishes.
If we rezone this property and you do not get the grant, what then will become of that property? Will we all still buy that property, or will you back out of it?
No, we will not purchase the property.
So this is just speculation on your part then on determining if you get that grant.
That's right. The project will not be built without a grant.
But one of y'all will either get, unless somebody else comes up inside the city limits and applies for the same grant. So far, it's just you and the other person had. So, but I want to know if we rezone this to R6 and you do not get the federal grant, what do we then do with this property? It reverts back to the owner, I think, which is Ms. Langdale. Does she want it to remain R6? And I don't think you can change it back within a year once you rezone it.
No, I can't answer for her. She's not here tonight.
But you see, it leaves us dangling too.
Well, that's all the more reason I would ask for some consideration of time for me to deal with some of these issues, and I can answer. If you tell me what they are, I'll answer anything I can answer in the next 30 days.
That was one of what becomes of that property is it goes through what she intends to do with it as R6. That's you're asking us to go out on a limb also with you on this to do that.
Well, the R6 is actually a down zone. What can go there now is a Dollar General. They can go level the trees and put it there tomorrow. They don't have to ask your permission. So, what we're doing is trying to soften the blow somewhat by putting something in there that might look aesthetically pleasing to the community.
What's a knockout plug?
Can I ask a man a question?
No, please. Does council have any other questions? No, I got time.
Mr. Hahn, Sandy Sheriff. I have a couple of questions, if it's okay, Mr. Mayor. I do have some questions that I'd like be able to ask
We,
those questions?
we can after we come out of the public hearing. Okay. We're keeping it 10 minutes on each side, that's exactly 10 minutes.
Can I speak a minute?
No, sir, you cannot. Okay, so we have